Okay, just a short summary of what CyanConnode is and what we're doing. So as said, we're present here in India. We are running 2 projects, currently rolling them out here. We're as well present in Europe and have delivered significant amounts of our products there. So we're basically a technology provider of RF mesh technology, but that's not why I'm here. So I will try to share some experience I've made from roughly 15 years in this industry in Europe in particular, and coming back to why are we rolling out smart meters in Europe. The clear incentive is to fulfill legislation and meet power efficiency requirements, reduction of CO2 emissions, and going to renewables. So smart metering is part of a larger vision or goal. It has been concluded that there is a big dependency to reconfigure, to use smart metering to reconfigure the smart grid, the electricity grid in Europe into a smart grid. Smart metering is mainly seen and perceived as a way to empower consumers and improve the awareness of energy efficiency. So what does that translate into? The goal, the 2020 goal for Europe, anticipates that at least 80% of the electricity meters will be replaced by 2020. Some 200 million that means some 200 million smart meters and 45 million gas meters will be rolled out by within a few years, basically. The cost of installing these smart meters is estimated to be anything between 200 and 250 euros per unit. The benefits of installing these meters are calculated, so it's not a straight pure business case. It's a sum of many factors, direct and indirect savings and efficiencies that can be made. On the bottom line, anyhow, the expected impact on emission by implementing smart metering will be in and around 9%. Energy savings, and this has actually been extensively trialed in several countries and proven to land up somewhere around 3%. Although Europe can be perceived as one autonomy, one legislation controlling everyone, every country within the Union is independent and can make their own decisions. And this graph or picture is trying to illustrate how spread things are. We have some front runners. I will be talking about a few of them today, and there are some laggers. So, all depending on the circumstances, every country and basically the challenges they have, they will be somewhere on. They are somewhere on this scale. So let's start with Sweden, my home country. 5 million meters. They started very early, rolling out at that time an AMR system. They went the same way. So by the way, thank you for kicking in open doors, Mr. Pritchard, and in your presentation and some of the experiences you shared there. They went with proprietary technology. They tried to meet the legislation exactly, and that time it was monthly billing. And there were 2 types of models. It was basically turnkey systems and managed services that was used. The consequence of that is that marketing is open up again now. So there is a second way, or there is a need for new systems, new technology in Sweden, so it's slowly starting there again. So what can be learned from that? Well, there were several approaches in Sweden. So one approach was to go for the cheapest technology for every metering point, which meant that some utilities or consortiums spent lots and lots of time trying to figure out exactly what technology to use for a certain metering point. That resulted in a selection of perhaps 6, 7 solutions that was rolled out. And the complexity and just the logistic challenge in that was overwhelming to some of them. Other parties tried to use other approaches. So they tried to de-risk their rollout project by dividing it into 4 pieces, basically, and go with different technology, type technologies in every of those areas, which resulted in very high operational costs because they had to maintain 4 systems simultaneously. The neighboring country, Finland, went out shortly after Sweden finalized, so they reaped some of the benefits from the experience made in Sweden. So the systems you see in Finland today, they increased the functionality around their metering implementation a bit. But what they learned was to reduce the number of variations that could be used. So they typically went with 1 or 2 communication technologies, 1 or 2 meter providers, and settled with that, and tried to accumulate everything into one head-end MDM type system. Norway, the last of the Scandinavian countries, a lot of Scandinavia here now, but sorry for that, but I'm trying to show the progress that has been made. So of the 3 Scandinavian countries, they went last out, so they actually started implementing or rolling out their programs last year. And you can clearly see that the drivers have changed dramatically. They've drawn a lot of conclusions from the neighboring countries and well, basically deployments made all over. So in their requirements, procurement requirements, they mandated only open standards. They mandated IP networking. They mandated e-meters which were with standard interfaces and also prepared for home area networking. And this is an early version of what we may see in other countries now. The requirement was to prepare the e-meter for a home area network, not to actually implement it at that point in time. Also a new component to allow all stakeholders around a metering solution was to implement a central database, a hub, so that all the data that was generated, or let me rephrase, the information that can be retrieved out of the system could be shared among all the stakeholders, include consumers, grid owners, etc. Moving on to UK.
So Christer, hopefully we're not going to go through the entire EU.
No. This is actually the last one. So I'll stop by because there's an interesting observation here. Sure. So I'll try to share with you. Maybe most of you know that UK has a different market model. So it's actually retailers owning the electricity meter, which adds a lot of complexity to any solution. And also, as mentioned before, security is very, very important when securing integrity and privacy for customers. Solution in itself is, as you can see, fairly complex. A communication hub is central, able to connect various types of meters as well as other sensors into the system. And everything is interfaced and aggregated in a data service center where data can be shared among the stakeholders. I'll move directly to this picture because I see I'm short of time. One thing, and we're talking about millions and millions of meters being planned for to be rolled out in a very short time. Just a short reflection, and this, by the way, this is not exactly up to date with what's going on in the UK, but look at 2018 here. 14 million meters planned to be rolled out over 1 year. What does that really mean? That actually means 50,000 meters being rolled out daily, which means that you will have per working day, calculated the number of working days as well. That means that you will have 5,000, roughly 5,000 installers out there every day to hit that number. And if you take that number and try to view that in the context of India here, you can clearly see that there will be huge logistic challenges involved in any major rollout. Yeah, so let's move on. To conclude, what I'm trying to convey here is that it's very important to have very clear strategy on the rollout, and not necessarily just for various phases and stages. It's to have a very clear end goal and vision of where you want to be. Openness, standards, technology guidelines, and previous experiences. It's important to take care of them and try to benefit from others' learnings and mistakes. Also, as been pointed out by several speakers before me, take consumer on board when doing this. Basically, all stakeholders will need to be at the table to get a good solution that everyone is happy with in the end. Also see to that you have clear ownership while deploying or planning for a project. Have all stakeholders on board, have clear ownership, and have a clear lead entity in that constellation. And change management. I've been missing that in many procurements. See to that is a natural part of this process, because there's no one knows 100% going into these ventures. Things will change, technology will change, prices and market conditions or regulators may change their mind as well. That's all for me.
Thank you.